Most people die long before they are buried, not physically, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually. The lights are still on, but no one is home. A quiet resignation settles in sometime between early adulthood and full maturity. By the time they reach 30, many are already ghosts of the people they once dreamed of becoming. This isn't a tragic accident. It's a slow erosion, a chipping away of wonder, a dilution of curiosity, a dimming of inner light. It happens when dreams are traded for salaries, when risk is avoided in favor of comfort, when originality is sacrificed for acceptance. It happens when life becomes less about becoming and more about surviving. We live in a world that applauds staying safe. It hands out praise for being practical. It rewards routine, predictability, and sameness. But the cost of this comfort is devastating: the death of the mind. The phrase mental death refers to the moment a person stops growing, not intellectually, perhaps, but existentially. They stop questioning. They stop reflecting. They stop imagining. They stop evolving. They fall into loops, the same thoughts, the same complaints, the same excuses. Life becomes a cycle, and they become passengers in their own existence. The irony is this: it's not intelligence that decays, but something far deeper. Their capacity for engaged awareness, their sense of wonder, their hunger for truth, their boldness in thought. Most people don't lose their minds. They stop using them. They outsource thinking to society, morality to religion, identity to culture. They live on autopilot, not by accident, but by choice. It is the path of least resistance, and therefore the most traveled. But this mental death is not inevitable. It is not an act of fate. It is a decision, made gradually, silently, every day. It's made when you choose entertainment over self-inquiry, when you trade principles for acceptance, when you suppress discomfort instead of exploring it, when you settle. This is not a condemnation, but a mirror, a wake-up call. The words that follow are not a comfort, they are a challenge. If you are still mentally alive, they will nourish you. If you are already slipping into mental death, they will offend you. That's how truth works. It either wakes you up, or it pushes you further into sleep. So ask yourself, are you really alive or just not yet buried? If you want to understand what it means to be mentally alive, observe a child. Children ask the most absurd questions. They stare too long. They play with nothing. They laugh at things that don't make sense. They talk to imaginary friends. They cry openly. They believe in dragons. They jump in puddles. They believe the world revolves around them, not out of arrogance, but because their world does revolve around them, and they don't apologize for it. To a child, every moment is an invitation to explore. A leaf is not a leaf. It's a spaceship. A stick is not a stick. It's a sword or a wand or a tool for digging. Reality is not fixed. It's fluid, shape-shifting according to imagination. This isn't immaturity. This is mental freedom. The mind of a child isn't limited by how things are. It's animated by what things could be. The boundaries between real and imagined are porous, because the child's mind isn't yet caged by rigid assumptions. Somewhere along the way, this spark dims, but not because of age. It fades because of instruction. A child is taught what is normal, what is appropriate, what is realistic. The word no begins to outnumber the word yes. They're told to sit still, to stop being weird, to grow up, and slowly, the wild forest of their imagination is paved over by rules, expectations, and polite conformity. This is the beginning of mental death, the killing of the could-be in favor of the has-been. It starts innocently enough. Don't touch that. Don't say this. Follow the rules. Get the right answer. But over time, a silent contract is made. I will trade my freedom for safety, my truth for approval, my wildness for belonging. And most adults honor that contract for the rest of their lives. But what if the child wasn't wrong? What if the strange questions and wild ideas were closer to truth than the rigid models we've been fed? What if imagination was not something to outgrow, but something to return to? The child is not foolish. The child is free, and most people don't become wiser as they age. They become more predictable, more cautious, more afraid. They call it growing up, but often it's just shrinking into the mold of what others expect. The system isn't broken, it was built this way. From a young age, we are put into factories of thought called schools. Here, the goal is not to expand the mind, but to tame it. Children are told to sit in rows, memorize facts, pass tests, and compete with each other for gold stars. The goal is not understanding, it's obedience. Compliance is rewarded. Divergence is punished. Creativity is optional. Authority is not to be questioned. By the time a child is 18, they have learned one lesson more deeply than any other: don't fail. So they live their lives avoiding risk. They choose the path that seems safe. They don't ask dangerous questions. They don't follow their curiosities. They choose careers that make sense, not lives that make meaning. This is how society breeds mental death, not through violence, but through reward. It makes mediocrity seem honorable. It gives trophies for sameness. It convinces people that fitting in is success, and standing out is dangerous. The real tragedy is not that people obey, it's that they internalize the rules so deeply they forget they're obeying. They forget the system was invented by people no smarter than them. They forget that grades are not the same as intelligence, that promotions are not the same as purpose, that approval is not the same as truth. Mental death begins when you forget that you were once free, that you once asked questions without caring how they sounded, once dreamed without permission, once believed you could build your own world. Now, most people just want to be told what to do, what job to take, what person to marry, what path to follow, and they are miserable. But at least they're safe. Is that living? Adulthood arrives slowly. One day, you realize you're no longer building your life, you're maintaining it, paying bills, answering emails, attending meetings, catching up on shows, checking your phone, swiping on apps, waiting for weekends. There is no great enemy, no grand tragedy, just routine and the slow drip of surrender. You don't remember when you stopped dreaming, only that you did. You don't remember the last time you did something that scared you. You tell yourself you're just being realistic. You tell yourself this is what everyone does. And you're right, which should terrify you. What most people call adulthood is not maturity. It is mental retirement. Dreams are postponed indefinitely. Passions become hobbies, and hobbies become distractions. You fill the silence with noise. You call it growing up, but really, you're just getting older and smaller. What kills the dream isn't failure, it's comfort. The job pays well, the rent is manageable, the routine is predictable. And deep down, you know you're not fulfilled, but at least you're not afraid, at least you're not broke, at least you're not alone. So, you trade your fire for a quiet, respectable boredom. This is the most dangerous kind of death, the one you don't even notice, the one you dress up in success, the one that happens with a smile on your face and emptiness in your heart. Most people don't quit their dreams. They defer them until life makes them forget they ever had them. Comfort is not evil, but it is seductive, and left unchecked, it is corrosive. At first, comfort feels like a reward. You've earned the right to rest, to relax, to enjoy life without struggle. But over time, it becomes a trap. It doesn't whisper you're safe. It whispers don't move. And slowly you stop challenging yourself. You stop growing. You build a cage out of convenience and mistake it for a castle. This is the modern plague. People mistake relief for meaning. They chase comfort like it's the purpose of life. But comfort is not purpose. It is the absence of friction. And friction, though painful, is where transformation lives. Everything truly meaningful in life requires discomfort, love, truth, growth, art, mastery. These are forged in effort, uncertainty, and pain. But most people flee discomfort at all costs. They anesthetize themselves with food, phones, likes, shows, news, and noise. They don't rest to recharge. They rest to escape. The comfort crisis is not about laziness. It's about fear. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of being seen trying. So people stay small, stay quiet, stay safe. But the price of safety is authenticity. The price of comfort is aliveness. The mentally dead have no appetite for discomfort. They have no tolerance for silence, no space for boredom. But silence is where insight lives. Boredom is the womb of breakthrough. Discomfort is the gym of the soul. If you want to stay mentally alive, you must choose growth over comfort. Daily, relentlessly, you must train yourself to lean into challenge, to seek tension, to want the stretch. Comfort is a coffin padded with soft excuses. Growth is a battlefield lined with scars. One feels better, the other makes you better. Choose. Love can be liberation, but often it becomes imprisonment. In youth, love is electric. It awakens parts of us we didn't know existed. It expands our horizons. It challenges our ego. But in adulthood, love often becomes domesticated, predictable, mechanical, not because love must fade, but because most people stop showing up to it. When two people meet, they bring with them dreams, wounds, shadows, hopes. But over time, they build routines. They find comfort in the known, and instead of challenging each other to grow, they start managing each other to cope. They create habits of emotional dependency. They stop being lovers and become teammates in tolerable mediocrity. Real love is dangerous. It confronts you. It mirrors your blind spots. It invites you to die, not physically, but egoically. But few people want that. Most just want peace, stability, and company. So they kill parts of themselves to make the relationship work. They compromise too much. They stay quiet too often. They bend. They shrink. They pretend. This is how mental death spreads in love. When we settle for companionship over expansion. A relationship should not complete you. It should reveal you. It should not be a sedative. It should be a furnace. But most people want ease, not transformation. So they choose partners who won't challenge their beliefs, their fears, their illusions. They build cocoons together, soft, warm, still. And in those cocoons, they quietly suffocate. Love, like life, demands courage. If you are not growing inside your relationship, you are decaying inside it. If you cannot bring your full truth into love, you are slowly dying within it. Mental aliveness in love means risking conflict, speaking your truth, standing in your difference, and inviting the other to do the same. It means choosing truth over harmony, depth over peace, reality over fantasy. Most people don't do this. They call it maturity. It's not. It's resignation. We live in the most connected, informed, and advanced time in human history, and yet never before have we been so mentally fragmented, so spiritually numb, so collectively lost. Why? Because information is not wisdom, and connectivity is not intimacy. Technology promised us freedom. It gave us distraction. It promised us knowledge. It gave us noise. It promised us time. It gave us anxiety. The average person today consumes more content in a week than a person a century ago consumed in a lifetime, and yet we are no wiser. We are just more distracted, more stimulated, more addicted, more reactive. Mental death doesn't always look like silence. Sometimes it looks like constant input with no digestion. We scroll endlessly. We jump from video to video, post to post, update to update. But we don't stop to think. We don't reflect. We don't challenge. We just consume. Our minds are bloated with information, but starved of meaning. Social media, especially, has turned life into a performance. We live to be seen, to be liked, to be approved. We outsource our self-worth to strangers and call it confidence. But deep down, we're hollow. We're comparing highlight reels. We're curating identities. We're more interested in appearing to live than in actually living. Mental death today doesn't look like silence. It looks like speed without direction. It's the inability to be alone, to be still, to be unseen. The irony is that all this technology was meant to amplify human potential, but for most, it has replaced it. We don't use tools anymore. We become them. If you want to stay mentally alive, Use technology, but never let it use you. Make it serve your growth, your truth, your expansion. Don't be a puppet for the algorithm. Don't be a slave to the feed. Turn the phone off. Open a book. Stare at the sky. Feel boredom. Ask better questions. Freedom is found in what you don't consume. Culture is upstream of behavior. What a society celebrates, individuals emulate. And we live in a culture that celebrates the shallow, the ironic, the digestible, and the safe. We have replaced depth with relatability, substance with style, art with content, thought with reaction. Nuance is dead. Long form is boring. Wisdom is arrogant. We don't want thinkers. We want entertainers. We don't want questions. We want affirmations. We don't want to be challenged. We want to be comforted. In such a culture, staying mentally alive becomes an act of rebellion. Mental death is marketed daily. You are told what to believe, how to feel, what to fear, who to hate, what to buy. And if you don't comply, you are labeled weird, contrarian, difficult, arrogant. So most people stay quiet. They repeat the script. They echo what is safe. They call it being open-minded, but really, they've just stopped thinking for themselves. We celebrate influencers, not thinkers. We idolize fame, not virtue. We admire relevance, not integrity. And this shapes our aspirations. Kids want to be YouTubers. Adults want to be liked. Nobody wants to be wise. This is not a judgment. It's an observation. It's not wrong to be successful or stylish or admired. But when those are the highest values, you are living in a spiritually dead civilization. Mental aliveness means thinking deeply, speaking truthfully, creating boldly, and living consciously, even when it is unpopular, unprofitable, or uncomfortable. Culture won't push you to do that. It will push you to be popular, not powerful, liked, not alive. So you must choose blend in or wake up. Mental death rarely happens all at once. It's a slow, subtle slide, a quiet giving up on your own becoming. The world rarely warns you. It often rewards your decay with comfort and applause. So you must become your own watchtower, aware, honest, and vigilant. Below are the clearest signs that you are dying mentally, not to shame you, but to wake you up. 1. You've stopped asking questions. Children question everything. Adults memorize and repeat. The mentally dead accept how things are without curiosity or resistance. They no longer ask why, or what if, or what else is possible. If the questions in your life have dried up, so has your growth. 2. You consume more than you create. A mentally alive person is an engine of output. They write, speak, reflect, build, question, initiate. The mentally stagnant are passive consumers. They scroll, watch, binge, and react, but rarely produce. They are critics without skin in the game. Creation is a sign of mental movement. Consumption is not inherently bad, but when it vastly outweighs creation, death has crept in. 3. Your days blur together. When you're mentally dead, life becomes monotonous. Every day feels the same. You live for weekends, for vacations, for escape. Time moves faster not because you're having fun, but because nothing is changing. This is the greatest tragedy, the death of novelty. A mentally alive person sees newness in even routine things. They are awake. The mentally dead are asleep in their own story. 4. You fear silence. If you cannot sit in a room without music, TV, podcasts, or your phone, you're not relaxing. You're running. Silence exposes the thoughts you've buried. Stillness demands a confrontation with your deeper self. The inability to be alone with your mind is not normal. It's a symptom of spiritual starvation. 5. You've stopped being moved. You used to cry at movies, laugh loudly, feel wonder. Now, numb, detached, you scroll past beauty. You dismiss poetry. You mock sincerity. You call it maturity, but it's emotional decay. Being mentally alive means feeling deeply, not reacting constantly, but caring. Being awake to pain, beauty, complexity. If nothing moves you anymore, you're not tough. You're dead inside. 6. You can't remember your last new idea. When was the last time a thought stopped you in your tracks? When did you last think something you had never considered before? The mentally dead recycle old beliefs. They speak in cliches. They resist discomforting ideas. Fresh insight is the lifeblood of mental aliveness. If your mind isn't expanding, it's calcifying. 7. You no longer challenge your own beliefs. Mentally alive people engage in internal rebellion. They question even their most cherished assumptions. They evolve. The mentally dead cling to their opinions like lifeboats. They surround themselves with agreement. They mistake certainty for truth. A mind that cannot question itself is a mind that is no longer free. 8. You seek validation more than truth. If your actions, beliefs, or choices are primarily shaped by how others will perceive them, you have outsourced your consciousness. Mental death begins the moment you prioritize acceptance over alignment. To live for applause is to die to your own voice. 9. You're always busy but rarely fulfilled. Busyness is not a sign of life. It is often a distraction from meaning. If your calendar is full but your heart is empty, you are mistaking motion for momentum. Mental aliveness is not about doing more. It's about doing what matters. 10. You no longer feel awe. Look at the stars, a mountain, the face of a child, a piece of music that shatters your defenses. If none of that stirs you anymore, you have become desensitized. Is the soul's proof of life. When it's gone, something sacred has already died. The good news is this: you are not a machine. You are not fixed in stone. The human mind, heart, and soul are malleable, capable of awakening at any age. Mental death is not irreversible, but resurrection requires discipline, rebellion, and desire. 1. Reclaim boredom. Boredom is not your enemy. It is the entryway to depth. It's where creativity begins. It's the silence before the breakthrough. Put down the phone. Sit in silence. Let yourself be bored. You will be tempted to escape. Don't stay. Watch what emerges. The most profound ideas arise from quiet. 2. Do one hard thing every day. Pain sharpens presence. Discomfort reveals who you are. Comfort dulls your edges. Run until your lungs burn. Write something that scares you. Say the truth you've been avoiding. Lift heavy. Make the call. Leave the comfort zone daily, or rot within it. 3. Practice solitude. Solitude is not loneliness. It's communion with your deeper self. Walk without music. Eat without screams. Sit under the stars. Listen. Reflect. Ask, what do I believe? What do I desire? What have I forgotten? You will never be mentally alive if you don't know who you are, and you will never know who you are if you never go inward. 4. Return to the sacred. Sacred doesn't mean religious. It means that which is not monetized, optimized, or explained away. Watch a sunrise. Read poetry. Meditate. Stare at the ocean. Pray, even if you don't believe. Connect to something larger than your own convenience. Modern life has killed reverence. You must choose to revive it. 5. Learn something completely new. Newness breaks mental patterns. Take up martial arts, piano, chess, painting, storytelling, philosophy. Not for productivity, for aliveness. Be a beginner again. Fail again. Struggle again. Learn again. 6. Ask dangerous questions. Who am I really? What do I pretend not to know? What would I do if I weren't afraid? Where am I lying to myself? What is worth dying for? The mentally alive are not answer seekers. They are question lovers. Keep asking, deeper, wider, louder. 7. Build something. Make something real. Write, code, cook, paint, speak, design, plant. To bring something into existence that didn't exist before you is the most human act possible. It is also the antidote to numbness. 8. Destroy what deadens you. Delete apps. Cut off toxic influences and relationships that shrink you. Quit the job that's killing your soul. Burn the dead wood, or the fire of your life will go out. 9. Live by a personal code. Most people float through life reacting. The mentally alive create themselves. They live by principles. They have a code. Define yours. Write it down. I do not lie. I challenge myself daily. I speak the truth, even when afraid. Live it, every day. A code is not about perfection. It's about direction. Without one, you are just drifting. 10. Stay close to aliveness. Certain people, places, and practices make you feel more alive. Identify them, protect them, prioritize them, and stay the hell away from anything that dims your light. No matter how socially acceptable it is, there is a difference between living and existing. To exist is to survive, to go through the motions, to wake up, work, consume, scroll, sleep, repeat, to follow the script, to avoid pain, to fit in, to die slowly, politely, with your soul still wrapped in plastic. To live is to awaken, to ask dangerous questions, to tell the truth, to feel deeply, to create recklessly, to stand alone, to chase beauty, to confront fear, to walk into mystery. Most people die before 30 because they stop becoming. They stop fighting for their soul. They stop being curious. They stop being honest. But you don't have to. You can begin again, now, today. No matter your age, no matter your story, mental death is not permanent. It is reversible. If you are reading this with a spark of discomfort, a flicker of recognition, then you are not dead. You are waking up. You must protect that spark. Feed it, fan the flame, because no one is coming to keep it alive for you. The world is fine with your mental death. It prefers your silence. It profits from your numbness. But you are not made to sleep through your own life. You are made to burn. Most people confuse maturity with mental death. They say, I've grown up. What they often mean is, I've stopped hoping. They say, I'm realistic now. What they often mean is, I've stopped dreaming. This confusion is deadly. True maturity is not the abandonment of wonder, it is its integration. It is the ability to face reality without letting it numb your soul. Real maturity means keeping your fire alive, even when you know how hard the world can be. But society rewards a different version. It rewards people who follow the rules, keep their head down, and don't ask disruptive questions. It calls them responsible, stable, well-adjusted. But adjust to what? To a broken world? To a dying dream? To a routine that numbs the spirit? Most people grow older but not deeper. They become more predictable, not more profound. They accumulate obligations, not insight. They abandon their inner wildness in exchange for social approval, and they call it adulthood. But adulthood, when fully embraced, is the most powerful spiritual initiation available, because now you know the price. Now you've felt pain, loss, betrayal, fatigue. And if you can still stay open after that, if you can still wonder, still love, still risk, then you are truly alive. That is maturity. Depth with discipline, vision with responsibility, truth with tenderness. The mentally dead fake maturity, they wear it like a mask, but it's hollow. Real maturity shines. It humbles, it builds, it heals. If your growth has led to coldness, your maturity is a myth. Real growth makes you more human, not less. As children, we dream wildly. We jump from trees, speak to strangers, build kingdoms in our backyards. But slowly, the world teaches us to be afraid, afraid of failing, afraid of standing out, afraid of not being enough, afraid of losing love. And we inherit this fear, not only from culture but from our own parents, teachers, and peers, often unconsciously. We see their caution, their compromise, their wounds, and we absorb them. By the time most people are 30, their inner world is run by inherited fears they never chose. Fear of rejection makes them lie. Fear of judgment makes them stay quiet. Fear of poverty makes them betray their passion. Fear of loneliness makes them accept relationships that drain their soul. Mental death is not caused by fear itself. It's caused by the belief that fear is truth, that what you're afraid of defines what's possible. But fear is not truth. Fear is a teacher. Its job is to point to the edges, to show you where you have work to do, where you've not yet gone, where your liberation lies hidden. You don't conquer fear by suppressing it. You conquer it by walking into it with your eyes open. And the irony, on the other side of fear is not danger, it's life, real life. the kind of aliveness most people haven't felt in decades. If you want to stay mentally alive after 30, you must question every fear you've inherited. You must ask, is this mine? Is this true? What would I do if this fear didn't exist? And then do it anyway. Most people only begin to live when they are dying. A terminal diagnosis, a car crash, a funeral. These moments, raw and real, shake us awake. Suddenly, all the noise falls away. What mattered doesn't. What was buried resurfaces. And we remember, we are going to die. This fact should not depress you. It should liberate you. Death is not the enemy. Forgetting your is, because once you forget that time is finite, you waste it, you delay, you rationalize, you sleepwalk, you assume you have later, but you don't. Death is a mirror. It shows you what's real. It burns away the false. It asks, if you died tomorrow, would today have mattered? The mentally dead avoid this question. They avoid cemeteries, silence, anything that smells like mortality. But those who face it become dangerously alive. They move faster, love deeper, speak bolder, live louder. Every day is borrowed. You are not guaranteed another, so use it. Do not wait until death comes knocking to start living. Use it as your compass now. Keep it near. Let it purify you. Let it remind you of the truth. You will die. So, until then, live. Most friendships are built around convenience, not consciousness. We grow up together. We work together. We have things in common. We laugh. We bond. But rarely do we ask, is this friendship making me more alive? The mentally dead often surround themselves with people who affirm their sleep, who don't challenge them, who don't inspire them, who don't mirror their highest potential. They gather in mutual complacency. But a true friend is a mirror and a fire. A mirror, because they reflect who you are becoming. A fire, because they burn away your excuses. Mental aliveness is sustained by proximity to awakeness. If your closest circle isn't pushing you, your growth will plateau. If they're dead inside, their silence will suffocate you. This doesn't mean cutting off everyone who's not on your level. It means seeking alignment over nostalgia, truth over history. Ask yourself, who in my life calls forth my courage? Who makes me question myself in the best way? Who is still curious, still creating, still becoming? Then double down on those bonds. Cultivate friendships rooted in shared vision, not shared distraction. In truth, not convenience. In elevation, not escape. You don't need a crowd. You need allies. Few, but fierce. Deep, not wide. That's how mental resurrection begins, not alone, but with others who refuse to die inside. The mentally alive will always be misunderstood, not because they're trying to be different, but because they are different. They've chosen to think, to feel, to live in a world that rewards automation. When you wake up, you see things others ignore. You say things that make people uncomfortable. You make choices they can't explain. You leave paths they think are safe, and they will not always clap. They will question, dismiss, criticize, mock. If your aliveness depends on being understood, you will shrink. If your authenticity depends on applause, you will betray yourself. The mentally dead crave approval. The mentally alive crave truth. You must be willing to lose followers, friends, even family to keep your soul. Not recklessly, but bravely. You must build a self that is unshakable, not because it never doubts, but because it refuses to self-abandon. Great minds are rarely recognized in their time. Deep hearts are often called too much. Sensitive souls are mislabeled as weak. Let them misunderstand you. Let them project. Let them judge. And stay true, because the price of conformity is your fire. And nothing is worth that. Every life is built on a story, not the facts of your life, but the meaning you give them. I was abandoned, so I must be unlovable. I failed once, so I'm a failure. I'm not like them, so I don't belong. These aren't facts. They're interpretations, stories, and stories shape reality. The mentally dead don't even realize they're living a script they didn't write. They've inherited their worldview from parents, culture, religion, trauma, school, pain. They confuse the story for their identity. But the mentally alive question the narrative. They step back and ask, who told me this story? What version of me is being suppressed by it? What would my life look like if I told a different story? You are not your past. You are not your pain. You are not your patterns. You are the narrator, not just the character. To resurrect mentally is to rewrite your myth, not in denial of what happened, but in reclamation of what it means. Maybe your heartbreak was not proof you're unlovable, but initiation into depth. Maybe your failure wasn't the end, but the doorway. This is not delusion. This is power. Facts don't limit us. Interpretations do. When you change the story, you change everything. So burn the old script and write a new one with blood, tears, and sacred defiance. Most people suppress their rage. They call it unspiritual, immature, and productive. But not all rage is destructive. Some rage is sacred. It's the soul screaming, this is not right. It's your spirit remembering its worth. It's your heart roaring against oppression, stagnation, numbness, and lies. The mentally dead have no rage, only irritation, passive aggression, numb compliance. But rage, properly channeled, is not about destruction. It's about reclamation. Sacred rage is the fire that breaks the cage. It's the scream that says, I will not live this lie anymore. It's the refusal to normalize the unbearable. But society is afraid of this power. It teaches us to smile when we're dying inside, to be polite when we're being disrespected, to swallow pain until it becomes disease. Mental aliveness demands we reclaim this fire, not to lash out, but to wake up, to say, I am not a machine. I will not betray myself to fit in. I will not accept this soul death. Your rage is not your enemy. It is your ally. Let it burn away the bullshit. Let it carve out your true path. Controlled fire does not destroy. It refines. Mental life is not a switch you flip. It is a practice, a devotion, a discipline of returning to yourself again and again. This is soul work. And soul work is messy, inconvenient, unmarketable, and deeply personal. It cannot be taught through 3-step checklists. It cannot be reduced to productivity hacks. Soul work is what keeps you human. It is the slow, sacred labor of sitting with your pain instead of running from it, listening to your intuition even when it scares you, saying no when it costs you approval, saying yes when it costs you comfort. Soul work is uncomfortable. That's how you know it's real. It asks you to confront your shadows, the parts of yourself you'd rather hide, your envy, your fear, your cruelty, your ego, not to shame yourself, but to integrate, to become whole. A soul that has never been broken is not trustworthy, but a soul that has been broken and has reassembled itself with truth is indestructible. This is the paradox. To stay alive, you must be willing to die to who you were. Soul work is not loud. It won't get you flowers, but it will give you freedom. Not the freedom of escape, but the freedom of embodiment. A kind of quiet joy, a sharp clarity, a feral tenderness, a strength that doesn't need to prove itself. This work is never finished. That's why it's sacred. You don't need another motivational speech. You don't need more noise. You don't need another morning routine. You don't need another high-performance habit. You don't need a life coach to hold your hand through your own awakening. You need a decision, not the kind that comes after a dopamine rush, the kind that comes from your bones, the kind of decision that says, I am done pretending. I am done fitting in. I am done living like I've got forever. This is your life, your one wild, strange, luminous, difficult, beautiful life. And most people will waste it. They will waste it scrolling, performing, pleasing, deferring, comparing. They will waste it chasing applause and avoiding discomfort. They will waste it because they believe there's more time. But there isn't. You can feel it, can't you? That quiet ache, that scream under the surface, that tiny voice inside that says, this is not all there is. That is the truth. And the truth is this. You are not meant to die with your fire still inside you. You are not meant to go to the grave with songs unsung, stories unwritten, love unspoken. You are meant to burn, to rise, to awaken, to break the curse, to be fully alive. This is not a performance. This is a vow. Let them laugh. Let them misunderstand. Let them stay asleep, but not you. You have heard the call, now answer it.